Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now on my channel I do all things crafty, but on today's video I'm going to show you my process from start to finish. Other than picking the design and getting it onto my computer, I'm going to show you from start to finish my process of making a DTF transfer and pressing it onto a shirt. Now if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing that. If you do, tap that bell and then select the all notification. That way YouTube lets you know anytime I upload new content. I want to talk about all the supplies I'll be using in the video. So I'm going to put my design on this bright pink Fruit of the Loom t-shirt. Before I press my design on, I'll go ahead and lint roll it. I'll also pre-press it. I'll be printing on this DTF ink, and I'll be printing on a ProColored DTF printer. Now in the printer is actual DTF ink. ProColored has other sizes of printers, but the one that I have accommodates paper that is 8.3 inches wide by 11.7 inches tall. So it's considered an A4 DTF printer because it uses A4 size film. Now once I print the image out, I'll be adding some DTF powder onto the image. This powder actually comes in a bag like this, and I love this brand. It's Yamation. I just get it off of Amazon. This is medium grade or medium coarseness. In here is actually fine. So the pieces are a little bit smaller than the pieces of the medium. Now I got this canister at the Dollar Tree store, so I just cut off the initial label and taped it onto here. Then also, I'm going to use a glove on my right hand. Now let me show you. Inside, I ended up taping down a couple of those silicone packages to try to keep moisture at bay. Now after I powder it, I'm going to cure it, and I'm going to put it in a DTF oven to cure it. You can also use a heat press and hover your heat press over it. You can use a griddle. There's various ways to do it, but I'll be using an oven. Now, while you're curing your DTF prints, it is recommended that you use some type of personal protective equipment. After it's cured, I'm going to go to my good old-fashioned heat press, one that you can actually adjust the pressure for, and I'm going to press it on the shirt. I do want to show you every step of the way, again, other than bringing the design into my computer. So let's move over to the computer. I'm going to show you the RIP software, how you get your picture into the RIP software. I'll just show the whole thing. Now this does take a PC. I haven't learned how to use screen record on it yet, so unfortunately I'm going to just have to set up a camera and record the screen itself. Hopefully it'll be good enough quality that you can really see what I'm doing. So here's everything that I have on the desktop of this new computer so far. And what we're going to work with today is this ProRip software. When I first set up my new printer, my DTF printer, I had to download a driver and I had to install this software. I show that in a video, so if you're interested, I will put a link to that video in the video description of this video. But in addition to using the ProRip software on the desktop, every time that you want to open that software, you actually have to have a thumb drive and a USB port here. But you should get two thumb drives, one to install the driver, one to download the software, and then a separate one that you put in your computer every time you use the software. So once I have that inserted into the computer, I'm going to double click right here. And it's asking me, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? It's talking about the ProRip software, so I'm going to say yes. Now it does take a little bit of time for this software to open, so you just have to sit back and be just a little bit patient. Okay, now that it's opened, what I need to do is I need to go right here, and this allows me to add my picture. In this case, it's not a picture, it's a design, but you're going to click on this anyway. Then I'm going to select the picture I want. Now, if yours isn't on your desktop, you might have to go to different files to find it, or different folders to find it, but mine's on my desktop, so I'm going to click on that. Okay, so it came in huge. Now when I set up my printer, I set the paper size to the correct size for me. Once you've done that once, you don't have to do it again. But look how huge this is. Right down here are the dimensions. 25 inches wide. That is way too big. So let me click in there, and then I can just back over all of that, and I can put the size I want. Now I think I want this to be about 9 inches wide. So I'll click 9. Once I hit the enter button, since their lock function is on, then the height will change too. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, one thing I noticed about this design, even though I said it was 9 inches wide, this film isn't even 9 inches wide. So for some reason in this design, there's some extra things over here and here that it takes into account. So you could either bring in a box that's 9 inches wide, but for me, I'm just going to drag this larger. Once it's wider than this 8.3 inch wide paper, I know it's about the right size. Now that's not real precise, but it's what I'm going to do today. All right, let's see if that's wider. It's a little wider, but let's go just a little bigger yet. Okay, now if I were to print like this, I'm not going to get all of my image. So eventually I'm going to have to rotate this so that it fits on my paper. The first thing I want to do though is I want to go right over here to brightness, contrast, and saturation. I don't think it needs to be any brighter, but I think the contrast needs to be more. So I'm going to click and make that contrast increase. I don't know why my mouse jumped way up there. I'm trying to get used to this new PC. I've used a Mac for so long that I'm a little bit shaky with this, but I'll get there. All right, so I bumped up the contrast. Now I want to bump up the saturation. Okay, that looks good to me. Now, many things that I've printed on here, I didn't have to do either of those, but I thought this image was a little bit lackluster without it. Now, there's two ways to get this flipped horizontally, and this is like sublimation in the fact that you do have to flip your image horizontally. I can either flip it right down here. This is horizontal mirror. I'll go ahead and do it to show you. And then so that it fits on the sheet, I need to rotate it. It doesn't matter if I rotate it clockwise or counterclockwise. As long as it's all on the page, I'm good to go. Okay, so now you go up here to RIP. And what RIP software is it is a software that just manages your printing on a DTF printer. Most printers don't print white ink, and so you have to have this special software that tells your printer how to print this. Now, I was afraid of using RIP software. I thought it'd be really difficult. This ProRip software is super easy. So I'm going to go ahead and click on RIP. And then I have some choices to make here. I left all of these alone, and I played around with this one. And what I figured out is it's white and color relation. So what's here first says 2 layers, so that's saying 2 layers of white. And then the different colors is your base color. When you're printing DTF, you're printing on that film. So your colors are going to go down first. And then for me, I'm putting 2 layers of white on top of it. That way, when you flip your design over, the white is against your shirt, and that really makes those colors pop. You can use DTF on black. You can use it on 100% cotton. It's very versatile. Okay, so remember I said there's 2 places where you can mirror your print. Here's the other place. Remember, I mirrored mine already to show you, so I want to unclick that. But you can have it default to that so you don't have to worry about it. Then you have a few options. You can say, I want to manually print it after I rip it. What that does is it gets it ready to print, and then you press a button so that it prints out. I typically just have mine set to automatic print after rip, or you can have it printing while it's ripping. Now, even though this is what I usually do, I'm going to change that for today because I want to be able to change the camera angle and everything. I don't just want it to take off printing. So I'm going to say manual print after rip. All right, so let's go ahead and say print, and that'll activate the RIP software, and you'll actually see it on the screen. Okay, so right here, it's showing that it's processing. It shows the percentage that it's done. All right, I left that in real time because I wanted you to see it's really a short amount of time. Now that it's done, I'm going to go right up here to this little picture of the printer, and I'm going to click on that. Now you probably heard my printer because it thinks that I wanted to print it, but I didn't put the film in there because again, I wanted to move my camera first. So let me go ahead and get reset and then we're going to print this out. It is really fun to watch a DTF printer print. Now there's a couple of maintenance things that I do every day before I print. And even if I'm not printing that day, and I don't print every day, but even if I'm not printing that day, I do this. The first one is I like to agitate the ink. And it's basically the white ink that can cause some issues with the print head. Now this automatically shakes your ink multiple times a day, but right before I print, I like to push this button and it agitates that ink. Now this goes on for, I've never timed it, but I would guess about 40 seconds. And you don't want to hear that for 40 seconds, so I'll go ahead and I'll cut part of this out. Now, the other thing that I like to do every day, again, even if I'm not printing, is do a print head cleaning. Now, this doesn't take the amount of time that it does on a regular printer. There's a little ink droplet right here. If you push that button in, and you have to hold it in for a few seconds, then it's going to do a print head cleaning. So let me press that. Once I hear something moving around, I just let go of the button. Now, because this already has a job in the queue, it's not going to let me do it. I've already done it once today, so I feel confident that this is going to print out just fine. But if you're having issues and your white's not printing right, do a shake, do a print head cleaning, and try again. Now, on days when I'm not printing something I need to use, I print a tiny little image on the film. I cut that part off, and I just keep using that same film on any day that I want to test this and make the ink flow. That way I can easily get multiple days out of one piece of film, and you're not wasting too much film. Now, some people just use regular paper to print out their sample things, but for me, I just like to use the film so I see how it would really look if I'm printing this out to actually do a job. Now, the way we printed this, and because I didn't have film in it, this is telling me that there's a job ready to come out. So I need to put a piece of film in it. Then I'll push that and it'll start printing. Now here's my film, and I'm holding my microphone at the same time I'm doing this. This is the print side. So I'm going to pull one piece of film out. And one time I accidentally had two stuck together, so now I really check it. Pull it out. Your print side's in front. Put it in just like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and press this button and the paper will come through. Now, if you're ever printing something, this button will also act as a trash can. So if you're printing something, it doesn't look right, you can press it again and it'll end that print job. Now, I think I forgot to tell you I'd be using butcher paper and parchment paper. So this is the butcher paper. Here's my print. It took me maybe 3 minutes to get my camera set up, so I've waited about 3 minutes. Now, I usually have a little plastic cup that I dip out of this with, and it's, oh, there it is. Okay, I didn't see it in there. So I have a little medicine cup, and I just dig some out, and I give a very generous amount. Any powder that you don't use, you're going to put right back in here. So you're not wasting anything by putting too much on. Then you're going to rock your image back and forth so that you know that the entire image has been coated with this powder. And I like to do this about 5 or 6 times. Okay, so then I just let the excess fall off, and then I actually tap it to get the rest off. And now it should look like there's little sugar crystals on top of this. Now this DTF oven is set to 117 degrees Celsius, so it got a little hotter than that, so it's coming back down. And then I'm going to do this for 150 seconds. So it reads timing start on this button on the far right. Once it gets down to 0, you're going to hear a loud beep. You press that button again and it stops. Now you can probably hear it, but there is a fan going. Once you start the time, a fan goes. There's also a filter over there. All right, so let me go ahead and lift this up. And then this little suction tool came with this, so you can just press that down and slide your paper over. That way you're not touching the hot oven. Now I'm going to go ahead and pre-press this, and then I'm going to let roll it. Now you don't have to use a heat resistant tape on this, but I am so that I can pick up the shirt, make sure I like the way it looks. I like where it is now. I'm ready to press this. We're going to do this 325 for 10 seconds. And I'm doing this under a pretty firm pressure. Now once this is done, we're going to let it cool all the way off. We're going to peel the film off. Then we're going to repress it with parchment paper. Now this is really hot, so I'm going to go ahead and take the shirt off of it so it can cool down faster. Now what I did when I thought it was cool enough, I peeled that part of the film back to make sure it was releasing, and it was. So I'm ready to go ahead and pull the whole sheet off. Now right now, it kind of feels like a printed vinyl. It's not as thick, I don't think, but it feels a little bit like vinyl. And so I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper over it, press it again for about 10 seconds. That helps really set it into the fibers, and if it's shiny, it takes away some of that shine. Now here's the shirt, and it is really, really cute. You might have noticed in that last clip, there's a tiny bit of white around the black. I don't know why, I don't think that should be there, and you're probably not even going to notice it here. But if you want to see it, back the film up, and you can probably see just a tiny little bit of white around the black. Now it doesn't bother me, it is super cute. Look at this. Now, I'm not the boss at work, so I won't wear that there, but when I come home and I'm trying to get inspiration for my YouTube channel or my projects or fill some orders, I'll put this on and engage in boss behavior. So thanks so much for joining me today. If you like my content, be sure to give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. If you are interested in a ProColored printer, I have a link down there. You'll get a discount. I'll get a little money for it. So if you want one and you use that, I truly appreciate it. Thanks again for joining me, and until my next video, bye-bye.